As a child, I spent countless summers exploring the vast woods behind my grandparents' farmhouse. Those early years were filled with adventure and the kind of freedom that only exists in childhood. My cousins and I would build forts from fallen branches, create imaginary worlds, and dream up grand futures for ourselves, completely unaware of the real challenges adulthood would bring. When I was 14, my family moved to a bustling city, a stark contrast to the rural life I had known. The transition was jarring, but it exposed me to new opportunities. I joined the school debate team, where I discovered a talent for persuasive speaking and a love for problem solving. These skills would later shape my career and personal life in ways I couldn't have predicted. During my final year of high school, a tragedy struck. My closest friend, Mark, was involved in a car accident that left him paralyzed. His resilience and determination to rebuild his life inspired me profoundly. I volunteered at the rehabilitation center where he was treated, an experience that taught me the value of empathy and perseverance. In college, I pursued engineering with a focus on renewable energy, driven by a desire to create something meaningful. My dorm room often resembled a laboratory, cluttered with prototype models and sketches. One of those prototypes, a compact solar-powered battery, earned me a scholarship and set me on a path toward innovation. It was during this time I realized that success was not just about ambition, but about creating solutions that mattered to people. By the time I reached adulthood, my life had become a careful balance of work, ambition, and lessons learned from my past. And now, standing on the precipice of a new chapter, all those experiences felt like threads weaving into the tapestry of this moment. At 3:30 p.m. on a Friday, I found myself counting the minutes nearing 50. I was about to marry Jane, the most stunning woman I had ever encountered. Jane, being a traditionalist, had chosen to spend the previous night with a longtime friend from her college days, ensuring we kept the ritual of not seeing each other before the big day. I was on my way to my study to review the wedding arrangements when I heard the distinct sound of a key turning in the lock. "All right, forgetful one. What did you leave behind this time?" I called out, descending the stairs. At the bottom, I froze. A woman with a Mediterranean tan, dressed in an expensive suit, stood there smiling. Despite her tight skirt and heels, she ran toward me with open arms. "Kevin, I'm back," she said. She leaned in to kiss me, but I turned my head, and her lips landed on my cheek instead. Grabbing her arms, I pushed her away. "What are you doing here?" I demanded. Her expression shifted between hurt and defiance as she answered, "Kevin, that's no way to greet your wife. This is my home. I've come back. You're not my wife, and this isn't your home," I shot back. "This is my house, and you don't belong here." Without waiting for her response, I turned and walked to the lounge, hoping to calm down. She followed close behind. "I thought you'd be mad," she said, her voice rising, "but this is too much." Ignoring her, I grabbed a card from the table and dialed the number on it. "This is Kevin Bryant," I said into the phone. "Yes, she's back. My ex-wife, Lisa. She's here now. Please come quickly because she won't be staying." Lisa's eyes widened as she asked, her voice trembling. "Who was that?" "Detective Inspector Maynard," I replied coolly. Her face paled. "The police? I didn't do anything wrong." "Maybe not," I said, meeting her gaze, "but they think otherwise." I called my son, Elliot, explained the situation, and asked him to come over. Turning to Lisa, I said, "Sit down. People want to talk to you." It had been 6 years since Lisa left. I still remembered her note. "Kevin, I'm leaving to find my true destiny. Don't waste your time or money looking for me. You won't succeed, and I won't change my mind. I hope life treats you well and that you forgive me someday. Yours truly, Lisa." She didn't even handwrite it, just printed it from my computer. Lisa and I had been high school sweethearts. At 18, I joked about becoming a millionaire by 30. For her, it wasn't a joke. Even in college, she was the girl everyone admired but waited for a millionaire. After finals, she announced she was pregnant. Though unexpected, I planned to marry her eventually, so I figured why not now? I accepted a job at a small firm, Danvers Electronics, because I believed I could make an impact. Lisa wanted me to aim higher, but I chose stability for our family. Bob Danvers, the owner, supported us, helping us find a flat and covering the deposit. My salary went toward preparing for Elliot's arrival. Lisa thrived during pregnancy, and within months of giving birth, regained her stunning figure. At 5'8", with chestnut hair and striking blue eyes, she looked as radiant as ever. As family life progressed, we bought a house with Bob's help, and my career took off. Bob promoted me to lead the design department, doubling my salary. Lisa enjoyed spending it. To prepare for emergencies, I set aside 10% of my income into savings, though Lisa still saw a boost in our joint account. By 30, we had a detached house in the country, 2 cars, and a comfortable life. But when I mentioned our success, Lisa said, "You always said you'd be a millionaire by now." It hit me that she never understood it was a joke. Our biggest conflict was over Elliot's education. Lisa pushed for private school. I thought public was fine. One day she said, "If you'd gone to private school, you might be a millionaire instead of working for a small electronics company." I replied, "That company pays for this conversation. Without it, we wouldn't have the choice." She countered, "If you loved Elliot, you'd give him every advantage." Lisa won. Elliot went to Kingswood for $6,000 a year. The fees weren't the worst part. It was the socializing. Lisa gravitated towards stockbrokers and bankers, while I struggled to fit in at their events. That's when everything began to fall apart. Lisa admired the luxurious lives of the people we met, while I resented them. One afternoon, standing by the patio doors, she asked, "The garden looks great. What made you redo it?" After 2 weeks of police and diggers tearing it apart, it was easier to start over, I said. "Police and diggers? Why were they here?" she asked, confused. "Looking for you," I replied bluntly. Before she could respond, the doorbell rang. Detective Inspector Maynard and WPC Cavendish stood outside. "Good afternoon, Mr. Bryant. Is she still here?" Maynard asked. "She is. Follow me," I said, leading them to the lounge where Lisa stood. "Inspector, WPC Cavendish, this is my ex-wife, Lisa. Lisa, meet Inspector Maynard." Lisa's shock over the garden faded as Maynard asked for her ID. She handed him her passport, and after verifying it, the questioning began. "Where have you been for the last 6 years?" Maynard asked. Lisa hesitated. "Can't this wait until we're at the station?" "This isn't the right time." Maynard was firm. "I think your ex-husband deserves answers after everything he's been through." Lisa glanced at me, pleading. "Kevin, I know you're upset, but this doesn't help." "I'm not angry you left, Lisa. I'm angry you came back, especially today," Maynard pressed on. "Where have you been?" "We went to France, Spain, and Barbados before returning to Spain. Now I'm home," she said. "This isn't your home," I countered. Maynard asked how she left the country, noting no records of travel under her name. Finally, she admitted, "A friend flew me out in his private plane. We left from Farnborough and landed in Nice." As rain poured outside, I tuned out the conversation, reflecting on when our troubles began. It started when Elliot entered private school. Lisa craved a lifestyle like the other parents, luxury vacations and a home and bath, while I focused on saving for the future. Arguments grew frequent, but we always reconciled, until one day we didn't. The breaking point came at a dinner party. Henry, a hedge fund manager and the father of one of Elliot's friends, bragged about his bonuses after drinking too much. He outlined a scheme involving a small company in Farnborough that owned valuable land. "We'll buy the company, transfer the land to a holding company, and evict the factory when it defaults on rent," Henry explained. "Then we sell the land for housing at 30 times what we paid." "And the workers?" I asked. "Casualties of business," he said smugly. "You're a blood-sucking fool," I snapped. Henry swung at me, missed, and fell into the table, ruining his suit. Lisa rushed in to see the commotion. "Grab your coat, Lisa. We're leaving," I said. It was my last dinner party. Lisa continued attending, claiming to go alone, though I doubted it. On Monday, I told Bob, my boss, about Henry's plan. Together, we bought the factory at a fair price, ensuring the owner got a better deal and saving the workers' jobs. A month later, Lisa exploded. "You embarrassed me in front of my friends and ruined Henry's deal," she yelled. "Henry's bonus versus 100 workers' livelihoods." "Easy choice," I said. "You make everything so hard. I'm trying to elevate us socially, and you ruin it," she snapped. "It could have been our father's jobs Henry destroyed. Have you forgotten where you came from?" I asked. "I haven't forgotten," she said bitterly. "I just don't want to go back." That moment marked the beginning of the end. Lisa resented my modest success, and I realized she was ashamed of me. Our relationship fractured further. She threw herself into socializing and school committees, while I buried myself in work. That year, I gave in and took Lisa to Juan-les-Pins for a summer vacation. She spent her time parading in front of yachts, hoping to spot celebrities, while I stayed with Elliot. It was our last trip together. The following year, I wanted to try skiing, but Lisa refused, insisting on warm winter holidays. From then on, Elliot spent summers with her and winters with me. We drifted apart. By the time Elliot left for college, we lived separate lives under the same roof. He followed Lisa's advice and studied business, later joining a management consultancy. His choices reflected her influence more than mine. In those final years with Lisa, troubling stories about her behavior began to surface. Even my boss, Bob Danvers, mentioned seeing her in questionable company, and my secretary would grimace whenever Lisa called. Whether she still loved me or not, it was clear she had no respect for me. When I came home one night to find her gone, I felt more relief than sadness. "I still don't understand how you didn't know we were looking for you, Mrs. Bryant," Inspector Maynard said. "The search and your husband's arrest were all over the news." Lisa turned to me, shocked. "They arrested you. Kevin, I'm so sorry. I left a note." "Yes, a printed, unsigned note," I replied. "No one believed it." Maynard pressed her further. "Mrs. Bryant, it's hard to believe you didn't hear about the search. It even made the foreign press." "I was abroad," Lisa said defensively. "I didn't speak the language and only saw local news in French." "And you didn't care," I added bitterly. Lisa looked at me, resigned. "You're right, Kevin. I didn't care. We hadn't connected in years. You hated my friends, and I wasn't interested in your world. But I never meant to cause you trouble." At that moment, WPC Cavendish returned with a piece of paper. "Lisa, is that your Range Rover outside?" Maynard asked. "Yes. Why?" "It's linked to an ongoing investigation in Spain. Passing away at a bordello in Malaga," Maynard explained. Lisa turned pale. "He died in the girls' room. It had nothing to do with me. The autopsy confirmed it was a heart attack." Maynard nodded but added, "The Spanish police weren't happy that you left the country before the case was closed." "I had to get away," Lisa admitted, glancing at me. "Kevin, you were right about those people. They use others and discard them." Maynard sighed. "We'll need a statement, but this case is closed for now." After escorting the officers out, Maynard shook my hand. "Good luck tomorrow, Mr. Bryant." I closed the door, feeling a mix of relief and exhaustion. While I missed aspects of life with Lisa, the house had felt emptier since she left. Even arguments leave a void when they're gone. The next day, I visited the bank. I canceled Lisa's credit cards, removed her name from our accounts, and took her parting words to heart. "Don't try to find me." I didn't, but 10 days later, Elliot called, distraught over his mother's disappearance. He insisted on filing a missing person report, bringing Inspector Maynard into my life. Maynard seemed skeptical of my indifference. "Why didn't you report her missing?" he asked. "I don't know where she went, and I don't care," I replied honestly. Maynard investigated, but found no leads. Lisa hadn't been seen by local taxi drivers and wouldn't have taken a bus, something she hadn't done since we married. The press latched onto the story, camping on my lawn and shouting questions about Lisa's whereabouts. Maynard later arrived at my office with a search warrant. He wanted to search my home, impound my car, and bring me in. I handed him the keys, but he arrested me anyway. "Kevin Bryant, you are under arrest for the suspected homicide of Lisa Bryant," he said, cuffing me. "You have the right to remain silent." Following Bob Danvers' advice, I said nothing without a lawyer. After 2 days in custody, my solicitor challenged the lack of evidence, leading to my release. Outside the station, reporters swarmed me, yelling accusations as cameras flashed. When I returned home, I found the property taped off as a crime scene. The garden was torn apart, the patio destroyed, and police were digging in the yard. Inside, the house was unrecognizable. Carpets were ripped out, floorboards removed, and belongings were scattered everywhere. A police officer stopped me. "This is a crime scene. You can't be here. This is my house, and I live here," I said. After radioing his superiors, he grudgingly let me pack a bag under supervision. I took photos of the chaos as I packed. The bedroom was the worst. Clothes thrown everywhere. Drawers emptied. With a suitcase in hand, I left for a hotel. The next morning, tabloids plastered my face across their front pages, one headline reading, "Getting Away with Homicide." Furious, I thought, they'll pay for this. At work, I walked onto the factory floor to unexpected applause. The clapping grew as I reached my office. Turning, I gave a theatrical bow, drawing laughter. My secretary, Sally, greeted me with a kiss on the cheek. "I knew it wasn't true," she said, setting coffee on my desk. Minutes later, Bob entered. "Good to have you back, Kevin. The lawyers filled me in. How are you holding up?" "My house is a wreck," I said, showing him photos. "Print those," Bob said. "I'll send them to the lawyers. They can't call it a crime scene without proof of a crime. You'll be compensated. Where are you staying?" "A hotel for now. I'll look for a short-term rental this weekend." "Nonsense," Bob replied. "You'll stay with Wendy and me until we find you something. Remember, you've got friends here." As I headed out for lunch, Sally called after me. Kevin, Bob wants me to help you find a place. Do you want a flat, a bed and breakfast, or would you consider renting a room? I haven't decided, I admitted. Well, my Aunt Helen rents out rooms and doesn't have anyone staying right now, she suggested. Would she be okay with a homicide suspect as a tenant? I joked. Sally laughed. You're no butcher. I'll call her and set it up. That evening, I met Helen Warrender. In her early 50s, but looking closer to 40, she was 5'6", with striking blue eyes, dark hair streaked with gray, and a welcoming smile. Her home was cozy, and the double room she showed me was perfect. After hearing my situation, she said, Sally told me everything. The way they treated you is appalling. Her kindness won me over. Living with Helen was a welcome change from life with Lisa, except for the lack of closeness, which didn't last long. One evening, Helen panicked over a broken toilet. I fixed it quickly, and her gratitude turned into a hug, a kiss, and eventually a night together. The next morning, she was remorseful. Kevin, last night was a mistake. It can't happen again. But it was good, wasn't it? I asked. It was, but I have someone. He won't sleep with me until we're married, and I couldn't resist after so long. I'll never push for anything you don't want, I promised. Despite her protests, we shared 2 more nights during my stay. After more than a month, the police finally released my house. It was in ruins, damaged floors, ripped carpets, and a garden that looked like a battlefield. Repairs took another 2 months. I replaced the furniture, reset everything, and restored a sense of normalcy. When Lisa reappeared, she walked through the house, her eyes scanning every detail. This looks different. Definitely not your style, she said, her tone curious. I had to renovate, I replied, my voice edged with frustration. The police tore it apart. They even checked under the concrete for your body. Her face went pale, and she staggered back slightly. I never thought it would go that far. I'm so sorry. It's done, Lisa, I said, meeting her gaze evenly. We're divorced now. We can move on. Her expression shifted to confusion. How can we be divorced? I never signed anything. You didn't need to, I said sharply. Abandoning me was enough. Once I moved back in, I started divorce proceedings to sever ties with Lisa completely. My lawyer explained the options: pursue all joint assets or set up a trust fund for half, allowing Lisa to claim her share later if she returned. I chose the slower route to protect my interests. Not long after, Maynard summoned me for questioning, suspecting the divorce as a motive for Lisa's disappearance. With no evidence of foul play, I was released but faced another press frenzy. Back home, I focused on redesigning the ruined garden. Despite my projects, I felt alone. Joining dating sites, I attracted attention but was often met with thinly veiled questions about Lisa. Casual hookups were easy, but finding someone to share my life with wasn't. Curiosity led me to explore no-strings-attached arrangements. One profile stood out repeatedly, an 18-year-old named Jane, refreshingly upfront about her intentions. Her profile read, I've just started college, and tuition fees are eliminating me. I'm not looking for luxury, just enough to avoid a job. In return, I'll be exclusive to you. If you're married, I'll be discreet. No one-night stands or short-term flings. Her honesty intrigued me. After resisting for a while, I contacted her, telling myself I wanted to ensure she wasn't taken advantage of. We met at a campus cafe. As I waited, I spotted her immediately. Tall, slim, with striking brown eyes and shoulder-length hair. She brought a petite blonde friend, Abby, who eyed me suspiciously. Hi, I'm Jane, and this is Abby, she said, extending her hand. Abby stepped back and snapped my photo. Hi, I'm Kevin. Can I get you both something? I asked. Jane ordered coffee and Abby asked for water. As we sat down, Jane seemed confident while Abby glared at me. You passed the physical, Jane said with a playful smile. I could go through with this. Good to know, I replied. But why am I here? Are you married? Jane asked. I can be discreet. It's not my wife I'm worried about, I said. Are you sure this is what you want? Jane's expression hardened as she glared at me. Is that why you're here? To lecture me? She stood abruptly as if to leave, but I raised a hand to stop her. I'm not here to lecture, I said calmly. I just wanted to be sure. Now, what do you need from me? She hesitated before placing an invoice on the table. It was for her university housing fees, modest compared to what Lisa used to spend on shoes. I glanced at it briefly, then reached for my checkbook. Without a second thought, I wrote a check for the full amount payable to the university. Jane's eyes widened as she watched me. You're really doing this for me? She asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. Yes, I replied, sliding the check across to her. And I'll cover next term too, but there are conditions. Cancel your ad and stay exclusive. Her head bobbed in agreement. Of course, she said quickly. Good, I continued. I'll also cover your food, books, and next year's tuition. In return, focus on your studies and make yourself available for events when needed. Abby snorted. That's an interesting way of putting it. Ignoring her, I asked Jane, do we have a deal? We do, she replied, locking her big brown eyes on me. I offered to take them to dinner, but Abby bristled. I'm not part of this arrangement. I know, I said. This is my way of thanking you for looking out for Jane. As we left, they noticed my modest Skoda. Jane hesitated. Kevin, can you afford all this? I laughed. I live by my needs, not my means. This car is practical and leaves me money for what's important. And I'm important? She asked. I hope so, I said. You'll cost me far less than my wife and son ever did. Over dinner at a small Italian restaurant in Bath, Jane opened up about her family. Her father, in his 60s, had a second family to support, and her mother was nearly 20 years younger. They lived modestly in Doncaster, where Jane grew up. Her father had instilled a strong aversion to debt, telling her, borrowing is just paying someone for having more money than you. I admired her upbringing, even if it had led her to risky choices. Her parents believed she worked at a campus bar, unaware of her arrangement with me. At the end of the evening, we exchanged numbers and I dropped them off at their dorm. Although I felt foolish, I wasn't naive. The next day, I hired a private investigator to verify Jane's story. I didn't think she was lying, but I wanted certainty before getting more involved. Over the next 2 weeks, Jane and I saw each other a few times a week. We had dinners, went to clubs, and spent time together. I was becoming attached, but waited for the investigator's report to ease my doubts. Jane, however, had other ideas. One Saturday, I planned a special evening. We started with shopping for a new outfit, followed by dinner at one of my favorite restaurants and a night at a booked nightclub. Later, we checked into a hotel with separate rooms. At her door, I leaned in to kiss her cheek, but she turned, meeting my lips. The kiss deepened, and she cupped my face in her hands. We need to talk, she said softly. We could go to your room, but I'd rather stay here. She led me inside, poured us wine, and said, Kevin, I'm grateful for everything, but I thought we had a deal. We do, I replied. Have I broken it? Not exactly, but you're not letting me hold up my side. You've treated me more like a daughter than a girlfriend. She unzipped her dress, letting it fall to reveal her lingerie. I already have a father. I don't need another one. I've just been cautious, I explained. I didn't want you to feel like... A hooker? She interrupted. If I were one, others would choose me. I chose you. This is my decision. I'm just worried, I admitted. You're 19, I'm in my 40s. What happens when someone younger catches your eye? That won't happen, she said, climbing onto my lap. I want a mature man. I want you. Her words melted my hesitation, and we ended up in bed. Her youthful energy was exhilarating, a sharp contrast to my past experiences. Afterward, we showered and fell asleep, spooned together. The next morning, I woke to her kiss, which quickly led to another round of closeness. Later, I returned to my room to change for breakfast. As we left the hotel, her arm around my waist, we looked more like lovers than the father-daughter duo we'd resembled when we arrived. On Monday, I got the investigator's verbal report. Everything Jane told me checked out. She had no romantic ties at university, and some even assumed her friendship with Abby was romantic. Relieved, I closed the case and asked for the bill. Feeling motivated, I asked Sally about the company's gym discount and booked a session with a personal trainer. Sally noticed. What's brought on this sudden fitness kick? She teased. I figured I could use some work, I replied. You're not in bad shape, and not that old, she said with a smirk. Then her face lit up. Oh my God, you've met someone. Kevin, I'm so happy for you. She kissed me impulsively before stepping back, flustered. Let's keep this between us, Sally, I said. It's early days. Any woman who lets you go is either mad or stupid, she said confidently. Well, thanks, I said with a grin. I'll try not to let it go to my head. Sally left, beaming, and I wondered how long it would stay a secret. At Danvers, the business had grown significantly. We had shifted to digital signal processing, with licensing becoming our most profitable sector, a reflection of my department's success. Bob, now in his 60s, was stepping back, and we had started hiring 2 graduates annually to bring in fresh talent. One afternoon, as I returned from the gym, still sweating from the workout, Bob walked into my office. He took one look at me and chuckled. Looks like you're training for a marathon, he joked. Just 3 miles, Bob, I replied with a grin. What's up? He leaned against the doorway. a playful smirk on his face. Your mileage expenses, they're getting out of hand, he teased. They're legitimate, I said defensively. I don't even claim the short trips. Bob nodded. I know, but the company should get you a car, something with a little more prestige, not a Skoda. There's nothing wrong with a Skoda, I countered. Sure, but it doesn't exactly scream success, he said, raising an eyebrow. You need something like a Merc, Jag, or BMW, especially when you're acting CEO. I blinked, caught off guard. Acting CEO? Bob grinned. Wendy and I are taking a world cruise after Christmas. You'll be running things while we're away. We'll discuss your long-term role when we're back. He straightened and headed for the door, tossing a parting instruction over his shoulder. Now, get online and pick a car, up to 80 grand. 2 weeks later, I picked up my Jaguar XK. I didn't mention it to Jane, who was spending most nights at my place. The first time I arrived at her university in the new car, she didn't recognize me until I stepped out. Well, I teased, does this prove I can afford you? You silly man, she laughed. You didn't get this just for me, did you? No, Bob insisted. It's a company car, I explained. He must think highly of you, she said, admiring the interior. It's mutual, I replied. So where to tonight? I don't care, as long as I'm with you. Can we just go home and relax? That moment made me realize how comfortable we had become. She didn't need grand gestures. Just being together was enough. For the first time in years, I felt truly happy. But the peace didn't last. One evening, Jane wasn't at our usual meeting spot. Concerned, I searched her dorm and then the theater bar, but there was no sign of her. Frustrated and worried, I returned to my car, only to find Abby sitting on the hood, arms crossed. Abby, I called out, startled. Where's Jane? Is she okay? Before I could say more, she slapped me across the face. Why didn't you tell us who you really are? She snapped. Jane's heartbroken. I told you, I'm Kevin Bryant, I said, confused. Yes, she shot back, her voice sharp with accusation. That Kevin Bryant, the one accused of homicide. Where's your wife? I don't know, I admitted, my voice tightening. She left. Abby glared at me, disbelief in her eyes. Then why can't anyone find her? A reporter told Jane everything. About you? About how women are drawn to butchers? She defended you, Kevin? But then he showed her the headlines. Furious, I snapped. I don't care what they say. Lisa left me. I deserve a life, and I want Jane in it. Driving home, I tried calling Jane, but her phone was off. I sent her a text. It's not true. Lisa left me. Please talk to me. The next morning, angry and exhausted, I called our company lawyer. Guy, I want to sue the police, the press, and especially the Post. They've ruined my reputation. Guy sounded eager. I've been waiting for this. Leave it to me. By the next day, the story had broken, and my house was surrounded by reporters as I stepped outside. Microphones and cameras were thrust toward me, voices overlapping in a chaotic frenzy. Mr. Bryant, are you suing the police? One journalist called out. Yes, I replied firmly. For failing to verify their facts. Another voice quickly followed. What about the Post? Are you really asking for £1 million? They've baselessly branded me a butcher and interfered in my life, I said, holding my ground. If they have evidence Lisa is dead, I'd like to see it. I got into my Jaguar and drove off, feeling vindicated. At work, Guy called to praise my impromptu interview with the press. While unintended, it felt good to know someone was on my side. That night, I watched the TV coverage of my statement. Most of the commentary was positive, and it was followed by a segment on press intrusion featuring others who had suffered similarly. 3 days later, the Post offered a settlement. No apology, no admission of guilt. I declined. Winning mattered more than settling. One evening, as I pulled into my driveway, I spotted someone huddled outside in the cold. It was Jane. I immediately wrapped her in my arms and brought her inside. After making coffee, I sat beside her, noticing her nervous but relieved demeanor. I'm sorry, Kevin. I don't know what to say, she began. How about I explain everything, I said. I recounted the entire ordeal, leaving nothing out. By the time I finished, her coffee was cold and she was in tears. I wrapped an arm around her as she leaned into me. I should have talked to you, she admitted, but that reporter scared me so much. He'll regret it, I reassured her. He should, she said, her voice filled with conviction. The things he said were awful, and the lies, how did they get away with it? When I saw you on TV demanding evidence, I realized I'd been wrong. Abby said you were heartbroken, I replied gently. I was, she admitted, her eyes meeting mine. I really like you, Kevin. It's not just about the Zex. It's everything. I want to be with you, but I was so scared. After she calmed down, I made dinner and we spent the evening quietly together. Before bed, she asked, "Kevin, would you come home with me for Christmas? I want you to meet my parents, especially my dad." "I'd love that," I said. That night, we held each other close, making love with a tenderness that felt like a fresh start. As Christmas approached, Jane moved into my house. She suggested it to save on her student housing costs, and since she was already staying most nights, it made sense. I insisted she take Elliot's old room to have her own space if she needed it. For transportation, I let her use Lisa's old Mini, which had been sitting unused in the garage. The drive to Doncaster was smooth, the Jaguar gliding effortlessly along the roads. After a couple of brief stops, we arrived in the evening and pulled into a hotel parking lot. Jane glanced around, her brow furrowed in confusion. "Why are we here?" she asked. "My parents will be upset if we don't stay with them." I turned off the engine and looked at her. "I booked a room as a backup," I explained. "Your dad will be thrilled to see you, but meeting me might be a different story." She hesitated before nodding. "That's probably smart." After checking in, she helped unpack, glancing around the room with a grin. "This place has potential. Maybe we should come back and test out the bed." We then headed to her parents' cozy home on the edge of town. Her father, Derek, greeted us warmly. In his 60s, with thinning gray hair and a friendly demeanor, he hugged Jane tightly. "Dad, how are you?" Jane asked. "Good, darling. And you? You look well. And this must be Kevin," he said, shaking my hand firmly. "Welcome. Jane's told me a lot about you." Inside, Derek led us to the kitchen where her mother, Linda, waited. Slim, blonde, and about my age, she gave me a much cooler reception. Her eyes skipped over Jane and fixed on me. "And who's this?" she asked sharply. "Mom, this is Kevin. We're living together," Jane replied. "Living together or sharing a bed?" Linda shot back. "Jane has her own room," I said, offering my hand. Linda ignored it, her expression skeptical. Derek offered drinks and we chatted over coffee. Derek's warmth was evident, but Linda remained frosty, eyeing me with suspicion throughout the evening. The visit went smoothly until a year-in-review program on TV featured my legal battle with the press. Linda gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Oh my God, you're him! You're Kevin Bryant, the man who got away with homicide!" "No," I replied calmly. "I'm Kevin Bryant, the man whose wife left him." "The Post says you liquidated her. There's no smoke without fire," she said coldly. Derek stepped in. "Linda, they had no evidence, and he asked for proof. They couldn't provide any." "You knew," she exclaimed. "And you let him stay here?" "Technically, Linda, it's my house, and I'm happy to have Kevin here," Derek replied. "I don't want to cause trouble," I said, standing. "It's best if I leave." As I packed upstairs, I heard Jane say, "If Kevin isn't welcome, neither am I." Derek apologized and promised to try calming Linda, but Jane met me at the stairs with her suitcase. We left together. She kissed her dad goodbye, ignoring her mother's protests. Back at the hotel, Jane and I tested the bed, sharing some of the most passionate closeness we'd ever had. The next day, I invited her parents to dinner at the hotel. Derek came alone. Linda refused. That set the tone for our future. Derek remained supportive, while Linda stayed distant and distrustful. We never stayed in Doncaster again, though I ensured Jane visited her father regularly. Derek and I grew close, and when I invited Jane on my annual ski trip, Derek encouraged her to go. We spent 2 idyllic weeks in Closters at a client's ski lodge. Jane, eager to learn, quickly picked up skiing and insisted I teach her. By the end of the first week, she was confidently tackling intermediate slopes. Though I suggested exploring the lively après-ski scene in Davos, Jane preferred quiet evenings by the fire with me. The trip brought an unexpected surprise when a royal family visit attracted the press. Jane didn't understand why I found it ironic, but I couldn't help thinking of Lisa's obsession with mingling with the elite. Here I was, inadvertently vacationing alongside royalty without any effort. Back home, while Bob and Wendy were on their cruise, I handled client meetings and events. Jane joined me, effortlessly charming guests with her warmth and intelligence. Her background in business and corporate law gave her insights that impressed everyone. While some whispered about the age gap, it didn't bother me. Clients valued her as much as I did. When Bob returned, he invited us to dinner. Over the meal, he shared his vision for the company's future. "Our manufacturing side doesn't generate much profit," Bob began. "Your design and development division is driving our revenue. Just your last project alone makes more in a week than manufacturing does in an entire year." "Are you thinking about shutting down production?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, but expanding it isn't practical." Instead, I want to invest more in design and development, especially in DSP chip technology. I'll scale back to working 3 days a week and oversee manufacturing. You'll take the lead on design and development, with a salary increase, of course. On the ride home, Jane curled up against me, her fingers gripping my arm tightly. "Did I hear that right?" she asked, her voice brimming with excitement. "My man is now running most of the company?" I glanced at her with a grin. "If by your man, you mean me, then yes." "That's amazing," she exclaimed. "He must really trust you." "I do my job well," I teased, pulling her closer for a kiss. That night, after another successful client dinner, Jane and I celebrated passionately. Her pride in me was clear, and her enthusiasm left no doubt about how much she admired me. The police eventually compensated me for the damage to my home and reputation, and the Post begrudgingly settled for £500,000 along with a hollow apology. The money felt tainted, so Jane suggested creating the Kevin Bryant Bursary for engineering students, which we did. With Jane now living with me, I covered her tuition, fulfilling our arrangement and ensuring she stayed debt-free, despite her initial protests. For me, paying her expenses was a constant reminder of our agreement and helped me brace for its eventual end. By spring, I was in the best shape of my life. Regular exercise and healthy eating had worked wonders, and even my assistant Sally took notice. "That young lady of yours is working miracles," she remarked one morning, eyeing me with a knowing smile. "Really? How so?" I asked, intrigued. "You look 10 years younger," she said with a wink. "If that's what a younger partner does, I'm finding myself a toy boy." I laughed. "It's the exercise and diet, but Jane does inspire me." "Well, whatever it is, keep it up," she said, her tone softening. "We were all worried about you these past few years." "Don't worry. She might go home for the holidays, though, so grumpy me might make a comeback." Sally grinned. "If she's smart, she won't leave you alone for long." Later, over dinner, I brought up the holidays with Jane. "So, what are your plans for Christmas?" I asked. She thought for a moment, then asked, "Does Danvers hire holiday workers?" "Yes, mostly engineering students." "Why?" "I want to stay here and work," she said. "I can't handle more than a week with my mom after Christmas." "I'll check for openings," I said, impressed by her initiative. When I mentioned it to Bob, he was surprisingly enthusiastic. "We need to start training office staff as much as engineers," he said. "Have Jane apply, or better yet, skip that. I'll have Mrs. Pritchard set up a program for her." That summer was blissful. Jane and I spent our days together, both at work and home. I bought us bicycles, and we often rode to country parks with picnic baskets in tow. I shamelessly enjoyed the view as I followed her on the trails, admiring her perfect curves. By October, when she returned to university, it was hard to see her go. In July, Danvers launched its first DSP chip, which became an instant hit. Lacking production facilities, we partnered with manufacturers to license the design. Telecom companies quickly realized the chip's potential and flooded us with integration requests. The success boosted revenue, and we transitioned fully into a knowledge-based business model, developing innovations and earning royalties. Despite my thriving career and happy personal life, my relationship with Elliot remained strained. He rarely spoke to me, and when he did, it was usually to air grievances. Rumors of his engagement reached me, but I doubted I'd be invited to the wedding. One evening, I overheard Elliot on the phone, his voice sharp with frustration. "Do you even understand the damage you caused, Mom?" he demanded. "You disappeared without a word. What did you expect? People were bound to be suspicious." Lisa's reply was defensive, her tone rising. "It wasn't my fault. Your father and I didn't have a relationship anymore. He didn't even look for me." "Of course he didn't, because you left," Elliot shot back. "I even wondered if the police were right about him." There was a pause, and when Lisa spoke again, her voice cracked. "You thought he liquidated me?" Elliot's tone softened, though it was still tinged with pain. "I didn't know what to believe, Mom. I had no one to talk to, and you were gone." Their conversation underscored the lingering damage Lisa's disappearance had caused. It also reminded me of how much I valued the stability Jane brought into my life. When Jane graduated, it marked the end of our arrangement. I had tried to prepare myself, but my feelings overwhelmed me. I was deeply in love with her, and the thought of her leaving devastated me. One evening, she approached me holding a letter. Her expression was a mix of excitement and hesitation. "I've been offered a position with KPMG," she said quietly. "It's in London." "That's fantastic," I replied, forcing a smile. "You'll gain incredible experience there." Her eyes searched mine. So, you think I should take it? You should do what's best for you, I said evenly. Jane's voice trembled as she asked, Do you want me to go, Kevin? I took a deep breath. Our arrangement is over. This is your chance to explore the world and live your life. Her eyes filled with tears. Is that all I mean to you, an arrangement? I couldn't hold back anymore. Wrapping my arms around her, I pulled her close as she began to cry. You mean more to me than anything? I said softly. But I thought you want to find someone your age and build a future. She wiped her tears, then glared at me with fiery determination. Kevin Bryant, for such a smart man, you're clueless. I don't want someone my age. I want you. If you want me to leave, I will. But I'll stay if you want me. I stared at her, stunned. You'd give up this opportunity for me. Of course, she said firmly. I am in love with you, Kevin. I want to move my things out of that spare room tonight. Are you going to take me to bed and show me how much you love me? Without hesitation, I swept her into my arms and carried her to the bedroom. That night, we reaffirmed our love, and I knew she was the one I wanted to spend my life with. A few days later, Jane surprised me with news of another offer. The place I worked during the holidays wants to hire me, she said. The pay's lower, but I love the team. Bob offered you a job, I asked, surprised. He didn't mention that to me, she smiled. He did, and I'm taking it. The guy running design and development is quite the catch. I stared at her, hope rising in my chest. You're staying here? With me? Jane grinned. Of course. I've already made my choice, Kevin. I'm not going anywhere. Of course. I've wanted to stay since our first Christmas. I can't wait to have you as my boss, she teased. Meanwhile, my divorce from Lisa dragged on. Guy, my lawyer, informed me I'd need to appear in court to prove my efforts to locate her. The judge ordered another year of advertisements, this time focusing on Europe. On the courthouse steps, Detective Inspector Maynard greeted me with a smug grin. Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Now I finally have a motive. Half your net worth is worth eliminating for. I shot back. The only reason I'd want Lisa back is to see the look on your face when you have to apologize. Over the next year, ads ran across Europe, but there was no response. Just occasional false leads. Maynard seemed uninterested, but I held on to hope that this chapter would eventually close. Finally, after a year, the court granted me a decree nisi, which would become absolute in 6 weeks. After 24 years, I was free. I briefly considered proposing to Jane, but she seemed content with our relationship as it was. We were happier than I'd ever imagined. The only lingering issue was my strained relationship with Elliot. Now married, he'd only invited me to the wedding because of Christine's insistence. She was level-headed and genuinely tried to mend things between Elliot and me, but progress was slow. Really, Mother, Elliot said to Lisa during one of their heated conversations. You couldn't expect everything to stay the same after you disappeared. Dad moved on. That meant divorcing you. But I was part of that marriage. Don't I get a say? Lisa protested. You had your say the day you walked out, Elliot replied firmly. I stayed silent, letting Elliot take the lead for once. Lisa turned to me, her tone sharp. Kevin, how did you manage to divorce me? As Elliot said, you effectively did it by leaving, I replied evenly. The court required me to give you every opportunity to claim your share. And did you? She demanded, her voice rising. Yes, I said calmly. I advertised in major newspapers across Britain and Europe. When you didn't respond, the court ruled that you'd abandoned your claim. Leaving your bank cards behind only reinforced their decision. Lisa's facade crumbled as she sank into a chair, tears streaming down her face. Elliot and I exchanged a glance but stayed quiet, letting her cry. When her sobs subsided, I broke the silence. Why are you here, Lisa? She wiped her eyes, her voice shaky. I'm in trouble. You were right about those people. They used me. After Henry left, I got tangled up with others who did the same. The last one left me in legal trouble. I thought I'd be safe here, with the only man I ever truly loved. You expected me to welcome you back? I asked coldly. No, she whispered, her voice breaking. But I hoped. I wanted to salvage our marriage, make you love me again. I shook my head. There's nothing to salvage. I loved you once, Lisa, but when you sided with Henry, I realized I was just a meal ticket to you. She broke down again, admitting, I thought success was about money, but I was wrong. Look at you, same house, same job. I could have been happy too. Elliot scoffed. You have no idea, do you? She looked confused as Bob handed me paperwork. A major telecom company had offered to buy Danvers Electronics at a price well above market value. They want a 5-year contract with you, Bob explained. You're the heart of the company. What about you? I asked. Are you selling? I'd like to retire, but the buyers won't keep the production staff. I can't do that to them. So you're not selling? I pressed. Not to them. I need a buyer who cares about the people here. I hesitated. Bob, I don't have that kind of money. You don't need it, he said. The bank will finance the deal. You'd own 85%, and I'd retain 15%. That night, I shared the idea with Jane. She smiled knowingly. You already know the answer, Kevin. You have to do it. The next day, Bob arranged a meeting with the bank, and I agreed. Word spread fast, and Sally, my assistant, approached me. Are you really buying the company? She asked excitedly. Looks that way, I replied with a grin. That's amazing, she said, hugging me. Everyone's been worried about Bob retiring. Not a word to anyone, I cautioned. We'll announce it once it's final. Over dinner, Jane and I discussed the deal. It's smart, she confirmed. The debt lowers the company's value temporarily, but as it's repaid, the value rises. It's a safeguard, not free money, but a solid move. By year's end, I was divorced and the proud owner of the company I dedicated my career to. Bob retired, embarking on another world cruise with Wendy. When the deal was announced, the employees cheered, and I felt immense pride as they lined up to shake my hand. Later, Elliot and Lisa exchanged sharp words. What's funny? Lisa snapped. You are, Elliot said, smirking. You always said Dad wasn't a millionaire. Turns out all it took was you leaving. That's enough, I interjected. It's true, Elliot countered. If money was her priority, she should have stayed. Lisa glared. Are you saying your father, who worked at some second-rate company, is rich now? That second-rate company is a leader in the global market, Elliot shot back. And Dad owns it. Lisa looked stunned. But you're still in this house. Why not upgrade? It suits me fine, I said calmly. And the Skoda? Replaced with a Jaguar. As Elliot left, he grinned. You'll be fine with Mom, right? I'll manage, I replied. Later, I found Lisa wandering the house, stopping at a framed photo of Jane and me. Who's the girl? She asked sharply. Jane Draper, I replied. She looks like your girlfriend. She's my fiancée, I said firmly. Her eyes widened. Fiancée? She's young enough to be your daughter. After my divorce, I hadn't planned to remarry, but Jane surprised me one evening. Kevin, she asked softly, would you want a baby with me? Caught off guard, I hesitated. Don't you think I'm too old? You're young at heart, she said, smiling. I want a family. I began pacing. I can't have a child unless we're married. Tears welled in her eyes. Kneeling beside her, I asked, Jane, will you marry me? Her face lit up. Does this mean we can start a family? Once we're married, so will you? Yes, she whispered, throwing her arms around me. The following day, we chose a ring. Her father was thrilled about the wedding, though her mother remained hesitant. A few weeks later, Jane handed me a prenuptial agreement. What's this? I asked. It's for your protection, she explained. People will call me a gold digger. I want you to know I'm marrying for love, not money. I don't want it, I replied. What's mine is yours. If we don't do this, I can't marry you, she insisted. Reluctantly, I agreed. The day I signed it, she set the wedding date. Elliot refused to be my best man, but Bob happily stepped in. The day before the wedding, Lisa appeared unexpectedly. So it's true, she said bitterly. You're marrying someone half your age. Jane and I have been together for over 5 years, I replied. If she wanted my money, she's had plenty of chances. Lisa bristled. And I get nothing while she gets everything? You made your choice when you left, Lisa. Don't blame anyone else. Tears streamed down her face. You're right. I've been a fool. I'm sorry, Kevin. I don't hate you, I said, softening. I'll help you on my terms. That night, I arranged for her to stay at a hotel and called Jane's father, Derek Draper. Can you help me get Linda to the wedding? I have an idea to change her mind. The next morning, Bob arrived. Let's grab breakfast, he said cheerfully. Over coffee, he asked. Any worries about today? 2, I admitted. Jane changing her mind, and Lisa. Jane adores you, Bob reassured me. As for Lisa, forget her. Today's about the future. By the time we reached Audley Manor, everything was running smoothly. The press stayed out of sight until the speeches, thanks to Bob. Guests arrived, and I heard Linda Draper call my name, looking radiant in her new dress. You look stunning, I said with a smile. Soon the wedding march began. Jane walked down the aisle on her father's arm, hesitating briefly when she saw her mother in the front row. She quickly composed herself and joined me. "How did you get my mom here?" she whispered. "I'll explain later," I replied, smiling. The ceremony was flawless, even during the speak now or forever hold your peace moment. When Jane lifted her veil, it took all my restraint not to kiss her immediately. During the photos, Jane squeezed my arm. "All right, spill it. How did you get Mom here, and where did she get that dress?" "There were some last-minute changes," I admitted. "It might steal a little attention from us." "I don't care," she said warmly. "I've got you, and both my parents were here." The reception began with heartfelt speeches. Derek spoke lovingly about Jane and welcomed me into the family. Bob's best man speech had everyone laughing. When it was my turn, I shared how Jane and I met and how much I loved her. Then, I surprised everyone. "Please welcome a special guest, Lisa, my ex-wife." Gasps filled the room as Lisa stood, surrounded by reporters snapping photos. I stepped in. "Gentlemen, this is Jane's and my wedding day. Please leave so we can celebrate." Mr. Danvers will provide Lisa's contact information. After the reporters left, the party resumed. Jane and I left for a hotel near Gatwick that night, then flew to St. Lucia the next morning. Though we'd shared rooms before, this night felt special. Our first as husband and wife. Sitting on the bed, I watched Jane step out of the bathroom in white lace lingerie, holding a small packet. She knelt, kissed me softly, then walked to the bin and dropped the contraceptive pills inside. Sliding into bed beside me, she whispered, "All right, Mr. Bryant, let's make babies." I smiled. "Sure thing, Mrs. Bryant." Her eyes sparkled. "What did you just call me?" she teased. "Mrs. Bryant," I repeated. "Say it again," she insisted, grinning. "Mrs. Bryant," I said with affection. That night was filled with love, and soon Jane's wish came true. She became pregnant, and we had our first child, followed by a second. Elliot also had 2 children, and our families grew close. Elliot's wife, Christine, helped repair our relationship. Elliot even took a pay cut to work for me, gaining insight into his past decisions' impact on employees. It brought us closer. Lisa's relationship with Elliot deteriorated. Christine insisted the kids needed their grandmother, keeping her somewhat involved. Eventually, Lisa sold her story to the press, earning over £100,000. Surprisingly, the article portrayed me positively while revealing scandals from her past. Jane's mother became a staunch supporter and, with Derek, moved closer to be near the grandchildren. Derek and I became close friends. Life was perfect. A loving wife, wonderful children, and a fulfilling career. For the first time, everything felt complete, and I intended to cherish every moment. Sharon was livid, not just annoyed, she was seething. And who was the lucky recipient of her wrath? Me, her husband. "My name's Frank Miller. How did I know she was furious?" Oh, that part was obvious. As I drove us home from a gathering hosted by her acquaintances, Anne and Hank Vanderlink, she sat stiffly in her seat, angled as far away from me as the car would allow. Her arms were crossed, her lips pressed into a thin, disapproving line, and the look she shot me could have soured fresh cream. So, what had I done to deserve this silent storm of rage? Simple. I had completely wrecked her evening, sabotaged it beyond repair. And, if I'm being brutally honest, I understood why she was angry. I had embarrassed her in front of a room full of people, and now she would never let me forget it. But what exactly did I do to ruin the night? I refused to play along with a little game. You see, the Vanderlinks had a rather unconventional tradition at their parties, one that my dear wife had apparently decided to embrace without warning me beforehand. It was our first time attending one of their events, though Sharon had heard about them through a friend and had managed to secure an invitation. What she conveniently failed to mention was that these parties had a unique conclusion, one I had no interest in participating in. At the end of the night, the wives would discreetly place their house keys into a communal bowl. Then, the husbands, blindly and at random, would each draw a key, escorting the owner of that key to her bedroom for an entire night of illicit pleasure. When I realized what was about to happen, I saw red. My pulse pounded in my ears as I yanked Sharon by the wrist and pulled her into the kitchen. "You knew this was the plan all along?" I demanded, my voice sharp with disbelief. She didn't even flinch. Instead, she gave me a smirk. "Yes. And you didn't think to tell me? Not even a little heads up?" "Because I knew you'd refuse. she said, as if that justified everything. You're damn right I would have refused, I snapped. And guess what? I still do. We're leaving. Frank, we can't just walk out. That would be rude, she countered, trying to sound reasonable. It's just one night, no strings attached, a little excitement, something different. I don't need this kind of excitement, I shot back. We're apologizing and getting out of here. You're being ridiculous. This is about me, Frank. I need this, she insisted, her voice lowering. Just once. One night. I want to feel like a woman again, not just a wife or a mother. It's not a big deal. My jaw clenched. Oh, it's a huge deal. And we're leaving. But I already put our house key in the bowl, she whispered. It's done. I stared at her in stunned silence. Then, without another word, I stormed back into the living room where the so-called game was about to begin. Sharon tried to tug me back, but I shook her off and strode toward the bowl of keys. The crowd, all gathered around and waiting for the big moment, quieted as I reached in and fished out the one I recognized immediately. Ours. The one with the red plastic cover. Holding it up, I addressed the room loud and clear. Looks like I was kept in the dark about this little tradition. And let me be perfectly clear, I have no intention of sharing my wife with any of you. A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd, some annoyed, others amused. A few faces twisted into scowls, but I couldn't have cared less. I turned back to Sharon, whose face had gone pale with fury. You have a choice, I said evenly. Come with me now and leave this insanity behind, or stay here and don't bother coming home. I'm done playing games. The room fell silent. Every eye was on her. For a second, she hesitated, her expression flickering between defiance and embarrassment. Then, straightening her posture, she forced a tight smile and addressed the group. I apologize for my husband's outburst. I would love to stay, but clearly, under these circumstances, it's best that I leave. She followed me to the car, though every step she took radiated resentment. The second we were inside, she exploded. You're such a selfish, insufferable idiot, she shouted. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was for me? We'll never be invited back. Humiliating for you, I shot back. How about the fact that you planned to spend the night in another man's bed without even telling me? She huffed, crossing her arms. You could have picked a key, too. We both could have had fun. I stared at her, dumbfounded. I don't want another woman, Sharon. I've never wanted anyone but you, and the fact that after 10 years of marriage, you suddenly think this is acceptable, that's what stuns me the most. It's just one night, Frank, she argued, her voice softer now. One night out of hundreds we've spent together. It wouldn't have meant anything. I've been a loyal wife for 10 years. I don't see why one night should be such a big deal. I let out a hollow laugh. Oh, it's a big deal, all right, and now I see exactly where we stand. Her expression faltered. Frank, it's not like that. I slammed my foot on the brakes, sending the car into a violent skid. The tires screeched against the asphalt as the vehicle spun a full 180 degrees, the smell of burnt rubber thick in the air. Without hesitation, I gripped the steering wheel and floored the gas pedal, the engine roaring as I sped back toward the Vanderlink's house. Sharon let out a sharp gasp, gripping the door handle. Frank, what the hell are you doing? I kept my eyes locked on the road ahead, my voice cold and unwavering. If sleeping with another man for one night is so damn important to you, then I'm not going to stop you. You might as well go ahead and do it. The house came into view, still glowing with warm light. The cars were still parked outside. The party wasn't over yet. Looks like you still have time to join in, I said, my words laced with bitterness. Go on then. Get out. Go have your little adventure. Find some random guy to screw. Maybe you'll find one with a lot more to offer than I ever had. Her expression tightened, her hands clenched into fists. That's not fair, Frank. This is about excitement, not replacement. It's about experiencing something new. This has nothing to do with how I feel about you. I barked out a laugh, shaking my head. Oh, really? So you're telling me this isn't about finding someone else to take you to bed? She exhaled sharply, as if frustrated that I wasn't seeing her point of view. Listen to me, she said, forcing a calmer tone. I love you. I love everything about you. You do everything right. You're enough for me. But this isn't about that. This is just one night, a change, a different kind of experience. I clenched my jaw, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. Well, guess what? I don't want any part of it, Sharon. I have never betrayed you, and I never will. I've never touched another woman since the day I married you, and I never will. Unless we're no longer married. Her face went pale. Her voice, once so sure, softened into something small and uncertain. What are you saying? I turned to face her fully, my expression unreadable. I mean exactly what I said. It's time for you to decide. If you really want this, if this night means more to you than the life we built together, then get out. Go back inside that house and be with them. I have no doubt they'll make room for a beautiful woman like you in their little circle, even if she's there alone. Her hand hovered over the door handle, hesitation flickering across her face. She was thinking, weighing her options, realizing the gravity of the situation. Then her voice softened again, almost coaxing. Frank, she said slowly, if I do this, would you come pick me up in the morning? You know, at whichever house I end up at, I'll call you and let you know where I am. You could just swing by and get me. She smiled faintly, as if this was a reasonable compromise. That would mean so much to me. I let out a short, bitter laugh. Are you out of your damn mind? No, Sharon, I won't be picking you up. But I'm sure your new lover will be more than happy to drop you off somewhere after he's finished using you. She winced as if I had slapped her. You make it sound so disgusting, she muttered. That's because it is disgusting, I shot back. You're treating this like it's some casual little experiment, like it won't change anything, but you're wrong. It changes everything. She met my gaze, looking genuinely hurt. Frank, he wouldn't be my lover. It's just for one night. It's just something new. A different experience, a new set of hands, a different face. That's all. It doesn't mean I don't love you. You're the only man I have ever truly loved, and you always will be. I stared at her, disgusted. You actually believe that, don't you? My voice was steel. You think love and loyalty mean nothing as long as you justify it to yourself. Tell me something, Sharon. Are you looking for a stranger to screw you tonight, or are you looking for someone to put a baby in you? She gasped, eyes widening in horror. Frank! That's awful! You know I'm on birth control. I'm not looking to get pregnant. This is just about experiencing something different. That's all it is. She paused, her voice growing wistful. Haven't you ever wondered what it would be like to make love to someone new? To see a different face, hear different sounds, feel a different touch? It's just one night, Frank, and afterward everything between us will be even better. You'll see. I shook my head slowly, my jaw tightening. Enjoy it then. Enjoy your new man and whatever new sensations he gives you. I exhaled sharply, my patience at its limit. I just hope you understand exactly what you're throwing away. It's just one night, Frank, she said again, as if trying to convince me, or maybe herself. One single night. That's all. 1 second would be too much. She leaned forward, her expression softening. We have the rest of our lives ahead of us. I scoffed. No, we don't. Not if you do this. You need to understand something, Sharon. I am begging you. Don't do this. Don't throw everything away for one night of whatever this is. Please. Her shoulders squared, her lips pressing into a stubborn line. You're making way too big a deal out of this, Frank, and I refuse to let you ruin my night. I've made my decision. I want this, and you just have to accept it. I'm going to do this, and tomorrow morning, I'll be yours again. I'll make you forget everything. I stared at her for a long moment, my heart pounding, my entire body screaming for her to reconsider. Then my voice dropped, steady and cold. Tomorrow morning, you won't be my wife anymore. If you go through with this, you'll be nothing to me. She rolled her eyes, waving me off. Oh, don't be stupid. Of course, we'll still be married. You love me and I love you. We'll get past this. You're breaking my heart, Sharon. She let out a frustrated sigh. Don't be so dramatic. Just think of it as an exciting adventure. It'll bring something fresh to our marriage. I clenched my fists. Your adventure is the end of us. She shook her head. You're being ridiculous. I'll make you change your mind in the morning. I know exactly how. I let out a bitter chuckle. Do you really think I would ever touch you again after you've spent the night in another man's bed? She smirked, completely confident. You will. I'll make sure of it. I felt a wave of nausea at her words. I had never been so disgusted in my life. God, I never realized how little you actually understand me. Her smile faltered. I exhaled slowly, then nodded toward the house. Go on, get out. For a moment, she hesitated, as if waiting for me to change my mind. But I didn't. She reached for the door handle, pulled it open, and stepped out. She turned back to me, her voice light and dismissive. See you in the morning, Frank. I shook my head, sadness settling deep in my chest. No, Sharon, you won't. As soon as she pushed the door shut, I slammed my foot on the gas pedal. The tires screeched, burning rubber against the pavement as I sped off, leaving her standing alone on the sidewalk. The car fishtailed slightly, but I didn't let up, pressing forward until I had put half a block between us. I caught one last glimpse of her in the rearview mirror before I turned the corner and disappeared from sight. She stood frozen, her expression a mixture of disbelief and shock, her mouth slightly open as if she had just realized the gravity of what had happened. Deep down, I needed her to call me, to say she had made a mistake, that she had come to her senses, that she wanted me to come back and take her home. But the phone remained silent. The realization crushed me. She had chosen a single night of meaningless pleasure over a decade of marriage, over the life we had built together. Tears blurred my vision as the weight of it all settled in my chest. My wife had decided that a random man's touch was worth more than the vows we had spoken, worth more than the years we had spent together. And the worst part, she actually believed I would just get over it, that I'd sulk for a few days, let my anger run its course, and then fall right back into her arms the moment she batted her eyelashes and lured me into bed. Well, she had another thing coming. My father had once told me something that now echoed in my mind with painful clarity. If a woman is seriously considering sleeping with another man, she has already done it in her mind. And if she's married, she has already broken her vows. It was one thing for a fleeting thought to cross her mind. Curiosity was human nature. But the moment she began plotting how to make it happen, she had already betrayed me. That realization cut deep, but not as deep as knowing that my 3 children, 9-year-old Jocelyn, 8-year-old Rebecca Ann, and 4-year-old Frankie Jr., would be the ones to suffer the most. How was I supposed to live without them in my life every single day? But I knew one thing for sure. Sharon's actions would not go without consequences. The kids were staying at my mother's house for the weekend, which gave me time to think. Time to figure out my next move. For half an hour, I drove aimlessly, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. Every minute that passed, I kept hoping the phone would ring, that she would beg me to come back for her. But the silence stretched on. Finally, I made a decision. I turned the car toward home, determined to set things in motion. As soon as I pulled into the driveway, my phone rang. My heart jumped, but when I glanced at the screen, disappointment hit me like a punch to the gut. It wasn't Sharon. I answered anyway. Laughter and the faint hum of music filled the background, and then a man's voice came through. "Frank, buddy, it's Rick Wilson. You left the party a little too soon, man. Your lovely wife gave me your number. Guess she figured I could talk some sense into you." He chuckled like this was some kind of joke. "Look, she's just excited, that's all. She's having a great time, and man, you are one lucky guy. Every dude here is hoping they're the one who gets her key. She keeps saying some guy's about to have the best night of his life, and she really wants you to be part of this too. We've got some gorgeous women here, Frank. You still have time to come back, pick a key, and have the time of your life." Something inside me snapped. "Go to hell, Rick," I spat. "You and everyone else at your disgusting little party. You're all pathetic. And as for my wife, she can burn with the rest of you." I ended the call without another word, my entire body trembling with rage. Without hesitation, I stormed into the house, grabbed 2 suitcases, and started throwing clothes into them. I didn't need much, just enough to last a week or two. Laptop, toiletries, essentials. My hands worked on autopilot, moving faster than my thoughts. I rifled through a drawer, pulling out our marriage certificate. I stared at it for a long moment before tearing it into 4 pieces and tossing it onto Sharon's pillow. Then I slipped off my wedding ring. A symbol of commitment, of trust, both of which she had just shattered. I grabbed a hammer and brought it down hard. Once, twice, 3 times. The metal bent and twisted under the force, flattening into something unrecognizable. When I was done, I placed the ruined ring on top of the torn certificate, took one last look around the house, and walked out the door. Before heading to a motel, I drove past the Vanderlinks' house one last time. The crowd had thinned. Several cars were gone. A few guests lingered outside, chatting in pairs, looking far too comfortable. I didn't see Sharon. She was either wrapped up in some stranger's arms already, or had set her sights on someone else. Either way, she had made her choice. I pulled into a small motel just outside of town, parking in the back where no one would notice my car. Not that it mattered. It wasn't like anyone would come looking for me. I locked up, walked to the convenience store next door, and bought a six-pack of Newcastle. Back in my room, I turned on the TV and cracked open a bottle. The first couple of drinks dulled the edges of my emotions, but before I could finish the third, my phone rang again. Sharon. I stared at the screen, my jaw tightening. I knew she wasn't calling to ask me to come back. Whatever she had to say, I didn't want to hear it. I let it go to voicemail. A moment later, the notification popped up. Against my better judgment, I played the message. Her voice was light, almost amused. "Frank, come on, you're acting like a child about this. Rick told me what you said to him, and honestly, you need to relax. How many times do I have to tell you? It's just one night. I'll let some new guy have me a few times. Big deal. That doesn't make me a bad person. I swear, if it makes you feel better, I'll make it up to you in ways you can't even imagine when I come home." She giggled as if this was all some game. "Oh, and since you snatched our house key from the bowl, they gave me another one. Glenn got it. Nice guy, married, has kids the same age as ours. He says he won't make me do anything I don't want to. His wife and her boyfriend are here too, staying in another part of the house so we won't, disturb each other when things get intense." She let out another laugh. "You know how loud I get when you touch me." My stomach churned. "I know you're mad now," she continued, her voice taking on a coaxing tone. "But tomorrow morning, everything will be fine. I'll shower before I come home, of course. I'd never give you sloppy seconds, baby." She giggled again. "Sweet dreams, my love. See you in the morning. I hope you're ready for some fun when I get home." It felt like my insides had been torn apart. Never in my wildest dreams had I imagined that the woman I married, the mother of my children, could be so blind, so foolish. Sharon had always been a bit impulsive, sometimes even a little naive, but I had once found that charming. Now that recklessness had led her to destroy everything: our marriage, our family, and quite possibly her future with our kids. What made it worse was that she truly seemed to believe I would take her back, that she could crawl into my arms tomorrow morning, whisper a few sweet words, seduce me into forgetting everything, and life would simply go on. Meanwhile, I could only imagine the laughter and smug grins from everyone at that damn party, enjoying my humiliation at my expense. The pain and rage inside me burned hotter with every passing second, and yet, the woman I had devoted a decade of my life to couldn't have cared less. I knew I should have ignored her voicemail. I should have shut off my phone, drowned out her voice, and let her deal with the consequences on her own, but I couldn't. I hit the call button. She picked up on the third ring. "Hey, honey," she greeted me, her voice light and cheerful. "Glenn and I just got into bed and are getting comfortable, so I can't really talk for long." My stomach twisted. "Shut the hell up, Sharon," I growled. "This is probably the last time you'll ever hear my voice. You have no idea what you just did, but trust me, you'll find out soon enough. So, I hope you enjoy every second of this little thrill ride you've chosen, because it's going to cost you more than you ever imagined. Get this through your head. Once you sleep with that man, you and I are done. Our marriage is finished." A sharp inhale. She finally understood. "You don't get it, do you?" I continued, my voice dripping with disgust. "I never thought I'd say this, but I hate you more than I ever loved you. And I loved you, Sharon, but not anymore. You've lost me. My lawyer will be in touch next week." And I ended the call. 30 seconds later, the phone rang again. I didn't answer. A moment later, her voice spilled into my voicemail. "Frank," she sounded breathless, on the verge of tears. "Why are you acting like this? How can you say those things to me? I'm your wife. Why can't you just let me have this one night? Glenn and I are just getting started, and you're ruining it for me. Now I don't even know if I can enjoy this the way I wanted to." I clenched my fists. "We're not getting divorced," she continued, the certainty in her voice making my stomach churn. "I'll be home in the morning, and we'll work things out. I would come home now, but I promised Glenn I'd stay with him tonight. I gave him my word, Frank. He got my key, and I told him right then that he could have me, and now he really wants me. Oh yes, right now, while I'm talking to you, I have to go." And then, just as I thought she couldn't possibly sink any lower, I heard her whisper to him, "Take me, Glenn. This is my night." The line went dead. Something inside me shattered. I had to do something. I couldn't just sit here, drowning in this hell she had created for me. I hit redial, but this time the call went to voicemail. I already knew why, so I left a message. Sounds like he's already got his hands on you, I said, my voice hollow. And you love it, don't you? You'll spend the night staring into his face, feeling his hands on you, letting him take everything that was supposed to be mine. You made a promise to him, a man you just met, but you couldn't keep the vows you made to me. For 10 years, I was faithful. I loved you, and you threw it away in one night. You won't see me in the morning. You may never see me again, but you will see my lawyer. I'll be filing for divorce under infidelity charges. And just so we're clear, now that you've slept with him, you are officially a cheater. So go ahead, enjoy yourself. Sleep with whoever you want as often as you want, but just in case you care at all, you've lost me forever. And unlike you, I actually keep my promises. I hung up. She didn't call back, and I knew why. Sharon had always had this way of losing herself in the moment, completely surrendering to whoever she was with. When we were together, it was one of the things I had loved most about her. Now it was the thing that sickened me the most. She was already lost in him, already drowning in pleasure, already forgetting that I even existed. I grabbed another beer from the six-pack and downed it, but nothing could numb the image in my head. My wife, unclothed in another man's bed, her voice, her moans, her body, things that had once been mine, now belonging to someone else. At some point, I passed out, the booze dulling the edges of my pain. But 4 hours later, I woke up and reality came crashing down all over again. My wife had betrayed me, and I needed a plan. I had to protect my children. I had to cut her out of my life. And I needed to make sure that every single person who was at that party, who had laughed at me, who had encouraged her, would feel the weight of what had happened. We lived in Biloxi, Mississippi, a picturesque Gulf Coast town with deep Southern roots. But more importantly, Mississippi was one of the few states where infidelity was legal grounds for divorce. That meant I could not only get out of this marriage without paying Sharon a dime, but I had a good shot at getting custody of our children too. I needed a lawyer, a damn good one. By 7:30 a.m., I was out of the motel shower, dressed, and ready to put my plan into action. But first, I needed to make a call. My mother answered on the second ring. "Frank, it's early. Is everything okay?" I took a deep breath. "No, Mom, everything is not okay." She listened, silent except for the occasional sharp inhale. When I finished, she let out a breath. "Oh, Frank, I don't even know what to say. I never would have believed Sharon could do something like this. I wouldn't have either." "The kids are fine," she assured me. "I won't say a word to them until you're ready. Just tell me what you need. Just keep them there a little longer. I'll pick them up once I have things figured out." I hated to admit it, but Sharon had been a good mother, and, until last night, a good wife. But that was the past, and I wasn't about to let my love for who she used to be cloud my judgment now. I ended the call and got into my car. Before heading out of town, I stopped at a small diner to grab breakfast. I had barely pulled into the parking lot when my phone rang. It was Sharon. I considered answering but decided against it, letting the call go to voicemail. But unlike before, she didn't leave a message. Instead, she called back immediately. When I ignored it again, she tried a third time, then a fourth. Finally, on the fifth attempt, she left a voicemail. Her voice was shaky, her sobs breaking through the words. "Frank, damn it, pick up the phone. Please, just talk to me. You can't mean what you said about never seeing me again. And what's all this nonsense about divorce papers? You can't leave me. I won't let you. We have 3 beautiful children who need us both." She gasped between cries before her voice softened, pleading. "My God, Frank, why? Why did you rip up our marriage certificate? Why would you destroy the wedding ring I gave you? You promised to wear it forever. It was supposed to be a symbol of our love, of what we had. How could you do that?" Then her tone shifted, almost defensive. "I knew you'd be upset. I expected you to be mad at me, but I never thought you'd take it this far. Frank, I love you. I just needed last night. Glenn made me feel young again. He made me laugh. He made me scream with excitement. I had forgotten what that felt like." There was a pause, as if she were gathering her thoughts, trying to piece together some way to make me understand. "But as great as it was, Frank, you are my man. You're the only man I will ever truly love. And I know how to make it up to you. I know how to make you forgive me. Just come home, come back to me so I can prove it. I'll make this right, I promise." Then she broke down completely, her sobs making it difficult to understand her words. "Damn it, Frank! Why don't you see that I needed this? Just one night to feel wanted, to feel desired. Do you know what it's like for a woman my age to see a man so excited for her? To see that hunger in his eyes? To know that he can't wait to have her? My jaw clenched as I listened. It was just sex, Frank, she whispered, her voice almost childlike in its desperation. That's all. He just slept with me. That's what this was. Please, Frank, please talk to me. I love you. You and the kids, you're everything to me. Her voice weakened, barely more than a breath now. It was just sex, Frank, just a few times. Oh God, all he did was sleep with me. That's all, Frank. The voicemail cut off, but her sobs echoed in my ears long after the message ended. I stood frozen outside the diner, my fingers curled into fists at my sides. Had she felt this way our entire marriage? Had she always been searching for something more? And why? Why now? Had this need suddenly consumed her? Sharon was still stunning, 5'5", maybe 130 pounds, with dark brown hair that framed her delicate face, light blue eyes that used to sparkle when she laughed. Her body had changed a little after 3 pregnancies, but she was still the kind of woman who turned heads wherever she went. And yet she spoke as if she had been some forgotten woman, unseen, undesired. Had I failed her? That thought twisted in my gut like a knife. I always showed her I loved her. I bought her flowers just because. I took her out every week, made sure she felt beautiful, desired. I told her how much I loved her every single day, and until last night, I had thought our sex life was incredible. We made love 3 times a week, sometimes more. I always made sure she felt wanted. I always made sure she was satisfied. So what the hell had I missed? I lost my appetite completely, but I walked into the diner anyway, needing somewhere to sit, to think. I ordered scrambled eggs, toast, and black coffee. Barely touched the food, but I drank cup after cup of coffee, staring blankly at the table, trying to make sense of it all. For the first time in my life, I understood when people said they wished they were dead. That hollow, aching void inside them. I felt it now. The only thing that kept me from sinking completely was my children. Jocelyn, Rebecca Ann, little Frankie. They needed me. I had to survive this. I had to push through the hell that Sharon had created and rebuild a life for them. That single thought gave me the strength to keep going. Sharon called at least 20 times that day. Every time I sent her to voicemail. Each message was the same. She begged me to listen, to understand, but never once did she apologize. Never once did she say she had made a mistake, only that she had needed this, and that my job as her husband was to understand and support her. Her voice played over my speaker again as I sat in the diner, another message, another excuse. Frank, all we did was sleep together, just 3 times last night, and then once more in the morning. That's all. That's all. She actually believed this was something small, something I could brush off and move past. Then her voice wavered, taking on a nervous edge. I just hope you didn't hear anything. I tried to turn my phone off, but I think maybe you heard us. I hope it wasn't too much. I squeezed my eyes shut, my breathing shallow. She knew. She knew what she was doing to me. And still, she twisted the knife deeper. If there was any silver lining, it was that I now had all the evidence I needed to destroy her in court. Every voicemail, every word, every confession. It was all recorded, all laid out. Tomorrow, I would find a lawyer, a damn good one. That evening, I went to see my kids at my mother's house. When I walked through the door, my mother pulled me aside, her expression grim. She called, Mom said softly, checking on the kids, asking where you were. I swallowed hard. What did you tell her? That you're shattered, Frank. That you don't want to see her. That you don't want to talk to her. I nodded. Then Mom sighed, rubbing her temples. She cried, I scoffed. Of course she did. She kept saying she didn't understand. Mom muttered, shaking her head. That she didn't get why you were so upset. I let out a slow breath, steadying myself. And then my mother said something that would stay with me forever. No man, she said firmly, would ever understand how a wife could throw away her marriage for one night with another man, and then expect to be forgiven. Sharon asked if she should come pick up the kids, but my mother gently told her it would be best for them to stay with her a few more days, at least until things settled down. When I arrived at my mom's house, my children ran to me with excited smiles, wrapping their small arms around me. Their innocence made my heart ache. They didn't know their world had just shattered. Where's Mom? Jocelyn asked, looking up at me with curious eyes. I forced a smile. She's busy with something important, I said carefully. You'll be staying with Grandma for a few days, okay? They didn't question it, nodding happily before dragging me into their evening routine. We played games, shared dinner, and for a few precious hours, I let myself pretend that everything was normal. When it was time to leave, I hugged them tightly, kissed each one on the forehead, and promised I'd see them soon. But before heading back to my motel, there was one last thing I needed to do. I drove past our house. The moment it came into view, my chest tightened. Memories flooded in, our laughter, our fights, our dreams, the life we built together. And now, all of it was gone. I wasn't expecting to see another car in the driveway, but I was still surprised to find it empty. It didn't mean much. Whoever she had brought home could have parked in the garage, but the only light I saw was in the kitchen. That told me one thing. She was alone. For tonight, at least. And then it hit me. Despite everything, I still cared. No, I would never take her back. That door was slammed shut, locked, and burned to the ground. But knowing that she had destroyed our family with such little thought, knowing she had chosen a moment of selfish pleasure over everything we had, it still cut deep. I told myself to keep driving, to let go, to leave her in the past where she belonged. But I didn't. I parked a block away and walked quietly up the side of the house, stopping where I could see into the kitchen window. She was sitting at the table, slumped over, her fingers curled around an empty bottle of Grey Goose. Her usually neat hair was a tangled mess, mascara streaking down her cheeks. She was still wearing a robe, but it hung off one shoulder like she hadn't bothered to fix it. A pile of crumpled tissues surrounded her, evidence of how long she had been crying. For a brief moment, I felt pity. Then I remembered everything. What she had done, what she had chosen to do, knowing it would break me, knowing it would destroy our family. And any sympathy I felt turned ice cold. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to turn away. I walked back to my car, got inside, and drove off. Let her cry. If she wanted comfort, she could call Glenn. The alarm on my phone buzzed at 6, and I got up, determined to start the day with a clear head. Breakfast at the diner was eggs, toast, and black coffee. This time, I actually finished it. Afterward, I called my mother, spoke to each of my kids, and told them I loved them. Then, I phoned my office and told my assistant I'd be handling personal matters for the next couple of days. She hesitated. Is everything okay? No, I said simply, but I'll explain later. Back in college, I had 2 roommates, Douglas Prater III and Maxwell McCrae. We had been close then, and despite life taking us in different directions, we had stayed in touch. Doug had gone into business, building a small empire, while Max had become a highly respected lawyer. I called Doug first. I need to meet up with you and Max, I told him. I need advice, legal and financial. It's important. Doug didn't hesitate. Of course, man. I'll call Max. Meet us at the Lava Bar on the beach at 5. I got there early. The waves crashed in the background, the salty ocean breeze mixing with the scent of grilled seafood from the restaurant next door. Max arrived first, followed by Doug 10 minutes later. We shook hands, ordered drinks, and clinked our beer bottles together in an unspoken show of support. Doug leaned back in his chair, watching me carefully. All right, Frank, your call sounded serious. What's going on? I didn't sugarcoat it. Sharon cheated on me, and she made damn sure I knew about it. Their faces darkened. Doug whistled low. Damn, man, that's rough. Max shook his head. I can't believe it. She always seemed so devoted to you. So did I said bitterly. Then I told them everything. They listened in stunned silence. When I was done, Doug exhaled slowly. Jesus. She really doesn't think she did anything wrong? Max asked. Nope, I said, my voice dripping with disbelief. She still thinks I'm the one overreacting. Max ran a hand through his hair. So what's your plan? I want a divorce. And if I can, I want to hit Glenn where it hurts, maybe even expose those a-holes at the party. But most importantly, I want my kids. If I can get full custody, I will. Max leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. That's going to be tough, unless you can prove she's a negligent mother, like bringing men home while the kids are there. You won't have much to go on. If she's a good mom, the court will likely grant her custody, and you'll have to pay child support. I can live with that, I admitted, as long as I can see them as often as I want. Max nodded. That's doable. The courts prefer both parents to be actively involved unless one of them is unfit. Doug, who had been mostly quiet, finally spoke. What about the financial side of things? Sharon doesn't work, right? And you've got a solid six-figure income. Yeah, I said. Between checking, savings, investments, my 401k, and IRA, I'd say I've got somewhere between $700,000 and $800,000, maybe a little more. Doug winced. That's a lot. If the court follows a standard split, she'll get half of everything, plus the house and custody. But if you can prove infidelity, and from what you've told us, you've got more than enough evidence, you might be able to avoid alimony. I nodded. I need a damn good lawyer. Max tapped his fingers on the table. I've got someone for you. One of the partners at my firm, Maddie Simmons. She's one of the best family law attorneys in the state. Can you set up a meeting? I'll call her first thing tomorrow. Doug leaned in. In the meantime, send me your financial details. I'll see what I can do to protect some of your assets. We clinked our beer bottles again, this time with more conviction. By the time we left for the first time since this nightmare had started, I felt something close to relief. As I drove back to my motel, my mind raced with everything I needed to do. There were phone calls to make, plans to finalize, and a future to rebuild without Sharon. Then my phone rang. I glanced at the screen and saw her name. My stomach tightened. I could have ignored it, like I had done all day, but something told me it was time to face her. I pulled over to the side of the road, exhaled slowly, and answered. What do you want, Sharon? My voice was cold, detached. There was no point in pretending things were normal. Nothing about this was normal. She sniffled, and I could hear the strain in her voice. What do you think I want, Frank? I want my husband to come home, where he belongs. I let out a hollow laugh. Yeah? Well, after what you did, that's impossible. Don't say that, her voice cracked. Please don't say that. I spent one night away from you, one night in 10 years. That is not a reason for divorce. I shook my head. In Mississippi, infidelity is definitely a reason for divorce. She let out a sharp breath. Why do you keep calling it cheating? It wasn't like that. It was just one night. It was just sex. I clenched my jaw. It doesn't matter if it was one night or 1 minute. The second you let another man touch you, you betrayed me. And I warned you, Sharon. I told you if you went through with it, our marriage would be over. I wasn't bluffing. She broke down into sobs. Oh, God. Frank, please. You can't do this. I gritted my teeth. You did this, not me. What the hell happened to you, Sharon? Were you on something? Did you lose your damn mind? Or were you just so desperate to screw a stranger that you didn't care about anyone? Not me, not our kids, not our family. You had to do this, right? Well, congratulations. You got what you wanted. And now you get to live with the consequences. Silence. Then barely above a whisper, I thought we were happy. I laughed bitterly. We were happy. We had a beautiful home, 3 amazing kids. Our life was good. And then you threw it away to have sex with some random guy. And the worst part, you bragged about it, like I was supposed to be fine with it. She took a shaky breath. Frank, we are happy. We can still be happy. This was just something I needed to do, something small. I just wondered what it would feel like to be with someone else, just once, just to feel something different. That's all. I closed my eyes and exhaled slowly. Harmless? Do you even understand what you've done? You destroyed everything, our family, our trust. You took the life we built and shattered it into pieces. And for what? Because I love you, Frank. I scoffed. Love? Love isn't betraying your husband. Love isn't spitting on 10 years of marriage. Love isn't choosing a night of pleasure over everything we had. I could hear her breath quicken, but I wasn't done. I have always loved you, Sharon. From the moment I met you, I was yours. I worked every single day to give you and our children the life you wanted. And in return, you left me. You walked away from me, from us, and into another man's arms. And now you expect me to pretend it didn't happen? Her voice was barely audible. I never meant for it to be like this. I never wanted to hurt you. I let out a hollow laugh. You didn't think you'd hurt me. What the hell did you think would happen, Sharon? You really thought I'd just accept that my wife of 10 years wanted to screw another guy? That I'd be okay with it? It wasn't about you, she whispered. I froze. She continued, her voice fragile but unrepentant. It was something I needed, just for me. It was never about you. I clenched my fists. And that is the entire problem, isn't it? You made it about you. You removed me from the equation. You didn't think about how I would feel. You didn't care how this would affect our family. You wanted something, so you took it. Like our marriage meant nothing. I deserved a special night just for myself. I laughed, shaking my head. Well, congratulations, Your Majesty. You got your special night, and it cost you everything. Your marriage, your family, maybe even your reputation. There might come a day when I forgive you, but I will never forget. And I will make sure everyone knows exactly what you did, she gasped. Frank, no, please, you can't tell people. My parents should know what kind of daughter they raised. Her breath hitched. They'll hate me. Not my problem. You should have thought about that before you jumped into bed with another man. You chose this. Now you get to live with it. Frank, you think this is nothing more than a small mistake? A misunderstanding? I laughed darkly. Let me make it simple for you. You traded 10 years of marriage for a one-night stand with a man who saw you as nothing more than an easy conquest. That was your decision. I didn't have to lose you, Frank. Oh, but you did. The second you decided your curiosity was more important than our marriage, you lost me. She took a shaky breath. You should have loved me enough to support me in this. I blinked in disbelief. There is not a single man on this planet who would support his wife sleeping with someone else for fun. That is not how marriage works. And if you ever thought it did, you never understood me at all. I didn't think you'd be this upset, she admitted. I mean, really, Frank, what's so bad about letting another man sleep with me? It was just a few times. It didn't change how I feel about you. I went silent. Then, my voice dropped to a deadly calm. The second you let another man inside you, everything changed. I begged you not to do it, and you laughed at me. I will never forgive that. I let the silence stretch before delivering the final blow. I found a lawyer. Tomorrow I'm filing for divorce. I'll name Glenn in the proceedings. I'll name every single person at that party that I can. And when the truth comes out, let's see how your little club reacts when you're the reason it all comes crashing down. Her breath hitched. Frank, go to hell, Sharon, and take every one of your cheating friends with you. And then I hung up. The moment I stepped into the office of Madison Maddie Simmons, attorney at law, I knew I had made the right choice. She was no nonsense, sharp, and all business. Exactly the kind of lawyer I needed to help me untangle the wreckage my life had become. She wasted no time. Mr. Miller, let's get straight to it. Why are you filing for divorce, and what outcome are you hoping for? I laid everything on the table. I told her I understood that our marital assets would likely be divided, and I was willing to let Sharon keep the house in exchange for a smaller cash payout. Even though I knew the odds of getting full custody were slim, my priority was unrestricted access to my kids. And one thing was certain, I had no intention of paying Sharon a dime in alimony. Then, I pulled out my phone and played the voicemails I had saved, the ones where Sharon openly admitted to what she had done with Glenn. Maddie listened carefully, shaking her head in disbelief. At one point, she paused the recording and looked up at me. I've seen a lot of divorces, but your wife truly believed you'd be fine with this? She still thinks I should understand why she needed it, Maddie scoffed, folding her hands together. Well, lucky for you, Mississippi still recognizes infidelity as legitimate grounds for divorce. These recordings? They're gold. They make it very difficult for her to claim any right to alimony. We'll likely need an expert to verify them in case she tries to contest their authenticity, but unless we get a bad judge, these should hold up in court. We spent the next hour discussing strategy. While Maddie didn't think I could legally pursue Glenn or the other party guests for damages, she did suggest that exposing their little secret to the public could shake up their comfortable lives. That was good enough for me. After putting down a retainer, I told her I wanted Sharon served with divorce papers immediately. Maddie assured me it wouldn't take long and promised to notify me when it happened. I picked up my kids from my mother's house and drove them back to Sharon's. As soon as she opened the door, she scooped them up in her arms, holding them close, kissing their faces. But when she reached for me, tears welling in her eyes, I instinctively stepped back. She broke down on the spot. Please, Frank, stay. I can't, I said firmly. But I wanted the kids to come home to you. I'll pick them up Friday for the weekend. She looked awful, exhausted, emotionally drained, completely wrecked. For a fleeting moment, I felt a sliver of sympathy. Then I reminded myself that she had made this bed. I threw myself into work. Losing focus wasn't an option. I needed my career now more than ever. Not just for financial stability, but for sanity. If I let myself wallow in Sharon's betrayal, I'd drive myself insane. And my kids needed me to be strong. On Thursday, I met up with Doug and Max for dinner at the Oyster House. Over fresh oysters and a round of drinks, I updated them on my situation. Doug had managed to safeguard a portion of my assets, ensuring I wouldn't be left completely exposed in the divorce. It wasn't much, but it was something. Max, however, had a different idea. "I have a contact at the Biloxi Sun-Herald," he said, swirling the olive in his martini. "If you give me Vanderlink's address and the times these meetings happen, my guy can do some digging. He won't name names, but he can drop enough hints for the local crowd to put two and two together." "You think it'll work?" I asked, intrigued. "In a town like this? Absolutely. A few blurry photos of well-known businessmen sneaking in and out of that house, and the rest will take care of itself." I gave him everything I knew. We clinked our glasses in agreement. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was winning again. I knew the call was coming. At exactly 2:30 p.m., Maddie called to inform me that Sharon had officially been served with divorce papers at home. And at 2:40 p.m., my phone rang again. I checked the caller ID and smirked. Right on cue. I considered ignoring it, letting her stew, but my curiosity won out. I answered with a calm, casual tone. "Hey, Sharon, how's your day going?" "What the hell did you do, Frank?" she shrieked. I leaned back in my chair, completely unbothered. "I filed for divorce, just like I told you I would." "You what, and under infidelity?" "Frank, one night with another man is not cheating." I let out a short, humorless laugh. "I think the state of Mississippi would disagree with you on that one. Spending the night in another man's bed is literally the definition of infidelity here." She started crying. "Why are you so angry with me, Frank? I love you. All Glenn did was sleep with me a few times. It was just an affair." "Oh, I see," I said mockingly. "So, you mean to tell me that having sex with someone who isn't your spouse isn't cheating? Wow, Sharon, I had no idea. I guess I've just been living by some ridiculous old-fashioned standard where marriage vows actually mean something." She sniffled. "Frank, please save it, Sharon." I cut her off. "You knew this would happen. I begged you not to do this. I warned you over and over. And you went through with it anyway. Now you have to live with the consequences." Her voice trembled. "What do you mean, consequences?" I smiled. "You'll find out soon enough. Frank, goodbye, Sharon. Have a fantastic life." And just like that, I hung up. No matter how much I wanted to erase Sharon from my heart, I couldn't deny the truth. I still loved her. Maybe some part of me always would. But love wasn't enough to fix what she had done. Trust was shattered. And without trust, there was nothing left to salvage. Still, despite knowing better, I found myself unable to resist the pull of curiosity. Against my better judgment, I drove past the Vanderlink house that night. I told myself it was just to see if Sharon's car was parked outside. Maybe deep down I was testing her one last time. As I approached, my pulse pounded in my ears. The neighborhood was eerily quiet, dim streetlights casting long shadows over the line of cars parked along the curb. I slowed down, scanning the vehicles carefully. Sharon's car was nowhere to be seen. But that didn't mean she wasn't there. She could have arrived with someone else, just like she had left the door open for herself once before. Who's to say they wouldn't make another exception? Across the street, a nondescript van sat parked near the corner. It had to be the reporter Max had tipped off. A small smirk crossed my lips. I hoped he got everything he needed. I hadn't expected results so quickly, but the next afternoon, Max's contact called me. "We've got quite the story," the reporter said. "Over 100 photos. And let's just say Biloxi's so-called elite aren't as discreet as they think." He rattled off names. Business moguls, city officials, socialites. These weren't just random couples sneaking around. These were the kind of people who built their reputations on morality and family values. Yet, the same couples who had arrived together weren't the same ones who left. Then he reassured me about something I hadn't even asked yet. "I looked for her, Frank." "Your wife, Sharon. She wasn't there." A small relief, but not much. Before we ended the call, he asked if he could include a reference to a marriage that had been destroyed by these parties, without naming names. "Say whatever you want," I told him. "Just keep identities out of it." The article landed on the front page of the Biloxi Sun-Herald, and just like that, the entire city exploded. The exposé laid out everything: the secret gatherings, the infidelity, the quiet corruption of Biloxi's social scene. There were photos, too, faces blurred, but not well enough to keep people from recognizing familiar silhouettes. Their clothes, their cars, even the way they walked, it was all too easy to identify them. By Monday morning, the scandal had spread like wildfire. Religious leaders condemned the moral decay of the community, taking to local television and radio to denounce the wickedness that had infiltrated their city. Civic leaders distanced themselves from those exposed. Threats of lawsuits flew left and right, but it was too late. The damage had been done. Businesses lost clients, reputations crumbled, and more than one marriage found its way to divorce court. To me, it was poetic justice, a fitting consequence for the humiliation, pain, and loss I had endured. If some people figured out I had been one of the betrayed husbands, I didn't care. I got my closure. That was all that mattered. Sharon spent months trying to fix what couldn't be repaired. She begged. She promised. She swore she'd do anything to make it up to me. But there was nothing left to salvage. The divorce was finalized. We settled on joint custody, alternating months with the kids, weekends in between. It wasn't perfect, but it was workable. Surprisingly, Sharon didn't fight me on anything. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe she just wanted it to be over. Either way, I let her off the hook. I never played those damning recordings for her family or friends. She was already paying a steep enough price. As for the rest of the couples involved in those key parties, some marriages survived. Others didn't. A few people skipped town altogether, vanishing before the whispers could catch up to them. They could run all they wanted. The truth had already been carved into history. Sharon eventually started dating again. I don't know if she ever truly grasped why what she did was unforgivable, but that was no longer my concern. Whoever ends up with her next, well, I wish them luck. As for me, I moved on too. I met some incredible women. Some were kind, intelligent, and full of life. A few even wanted something permanent. But even now, I hesitate. Letting someone into my world again? That's one thing. Giving her a key? That's something else entirely.